Okay, let's start with the prayer as usual. Om Gananantva Ganapatin Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamasya Vastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashranvannutibhis Sidasadanam. Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namah. Om Vrishabham Charshaninam Vishvarupamadaabhyam Brihaspatim Varenyam. Om Tadvishnoh Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suraya Divi Vachakshuratatam. Okay, everybody repeat after me. Try to repeat after me. Hare Ramakrishna 3 times. Om Hare Ramakrishna, Hare Ramakrishna, Hare Ramakrishna. Okay, welcome back. I'm sorry for the delay. Sorry for coming late again, like last week. So, let's continue where we left off last week. I did not send any handout. I will probably send a handout this week. We will look at some more example charts like we've been doing in the last 3 classes or so. Before I go to examples, I will again repeat the key point of last class, even though some of you may have understood it, some of you may still need to come to grasp with that concept. When you look at houses from Lagna, houses from the ascendant, those houses show what is inherently within you. They show the truth, they show the ultimate reality, absolute reality, and that is something that nobody can perceive, nobody can judge, nobody can measure. It is just hidden. It is the hidden reality, hidden truth. On the other hand, if you look at the arudha of that house, that is something that is rising materially and you can perceive it, it is a tangible thing. So for example, if you say like in the example I gave, I said that D20 is the chart of religious and spiritual pursuit, spiritual growth, that D20 is the chart Vimshamsha, and within that chart, the 5th house I said is the house of, what is 5th house? At a very basic core level, 5th house is the house of abilities. There are so many other meanings which can be derived from it, but the basic meaning is, it shows abilities. And the 9th house is dharma. Dharma comes from abilities. That's why 1, 5 and 9 are dharma trikonas. Now, what is the ability needed in spiritual pursuit? The only ability is not knowledge, not scholarship. Scholarship is an ability needed for learning. So in D24, the chart of Siddhi, the chart of learning and education, Siddhi through knowledge. In that chart, 5th house will show your scholarship and your abilities. But in D20, the 5th house shows your discipline, your devotion, because that's all you need for spiritual rise. You don't need to be a learned person in order to be spiritually advanced. Even an illiterate person can be spiritually very advanced. So that's what I said in the last class. So 5th house will show your devotion and your discipline in the matter of spiritual pursuit. And I said the pujas that you do, the religious procedures, rituals you follow, the mantras that you recite, all these things are tangible things. These are things that people can see. When I read a particular mantra, for example, I came here, I read Gananantva Ganapatim Havamahe. Everybody read it. Everybody could hear it. It's a tangible thing. But the devotion that I feel within myself, that is something nobody can perceive. Even I can't perceive it fully. I only know it partly. Depending on how mature I am, I may be able to perceive it more or less. But even I don't know it fully. See, the same holds for each of you. The devotion that is inherently within you, nobody really knows it. You can't really perceive it. But the pujas that you do, the mantras you read, the temples that you visit, all these things they are a measure of your devotion. But they are not accurate. This is just illusion. In this illusory world, they are a measure because they are the tangible manifestations of your devotion. So similarly, all the arudhas in the chart here, A5 will show the arudha of the 5th house. So if you look in D20, A5 is the mantras that one recites and the pujas, the religious procedures one follows. So like that, for every house, look at the house, that will show the reality, the real thing inside, and the arudha will show what is tangible, the measure, the tangible measure that the world will use to judge that matter, and also the thing through which that particular thing manifests in a way that the world can see. And the third aspect that I mentioned is, if you look at Arudha of Lagna itself, Lagna is you, your existence, very existence. So Arudha Lagna is the way your very existence manifests materially in a way that the world can see. So it is basically your image, what the world thinks of you. So if you look at houses from Arudha Lagna, they will show various qualities of your image, of your tangible image, the way people perceive you. So for example, I said, the third from Lagna will show my braveness, my initiative, my real initiative, what I feel inside. The third from Arudha Lagna will show what kind of initiative people think you have. It is people's image. And then the third aspect is A3, the Arudha of the third house. What does that show? Right. That doesn't show what people think of your image, your drive. That shows tangible things that are used as a measure of your initiative. Tangible things that come to existence because of your drive, because of your initiative. So for example, if you are talking about, when you talk about drive and initiative, there can be different aspects of it. For example, when I am teaching this class, the communication that I am engaging in, that is also an aspect of my drive, my initiative to do something. So communication skills are one of the things that are shown by the third house, because they are an aspect of your drive and initiative. So if you are looking at third house from that angle, then what are the manifestations of my communication skills, my drive, my lecture? We are recording an MP3, we are putting it on the web. So that MP3 file, that's a tangible thing that people can perceive. The book that I wrote, people can buy it and people can learn from it. The articles that I write on various Yahoo groups or magazines like Astrological Magazine, Express Storyteller, Jyothishya Digest. So all the articles that I write, these are tangible things. These are not people's impressions. If you want to see what people think of my communication skills, you should look at the third from Arudha Lagna. If you want to see my real communication skills, what is inherently within me, you see from Lagna. And if you see A3, that is the lectures that I gave, the articles that I write, all those things you see. And now third house is not just communication skills, it is also boldness. I may go and fight with somebody. So the boldness is also from third house. So if you are looking at third house from that angle, what will A3 show? What is a manifestation of your boldness?
The wars, the fighting, these things that you do probably.
War is actually more of sixth house. Third house is only initiative. It doesn't mean war. War is from the sixth house, because war is overcoming an obstacle. Obstacles are from the sixth house. It is a karma that you do. So Artha Trikonas, the Artha Trikonas 2, 6 and 10, those are the three houses that show your karma, the things that you do. But what drives you is from Kama Trikonas 3, 7 and 11. These three houses will show what drives you. So third house is only the drive. It is the spark to go to war. Actually, whether you go to war, what you do in the war is not from the third house. War itself is from the sixth house. Of course, the war can be with the enemies within you. The war can be, for example, my computer is not working, so I may have to go and get it repaired, or I may get somebody else's computer and make sure that this thing is, I have all the resources needed to complete this class. So all these, overcoming of any obstacle is a war. So all these things are from the sixth house. But what third house shows is the initiative. It is the seed of the Kama Trikona, 3, 7 and 11. These three trines are Kama Trikonas, the trines of desire. So they show what motivates you. So third house is the seed of this Kama Trikona. So all it shows is the drive, the initial spark to do something. So if third house is strong, for example, for somebody, but sixth house is weak, he may just start a lot of things, but he may not finish what he starts. So in order to finish what you are doing, sixth house is very important. Sixth house is actually the house of overcoming all the obstacles in the process of executing your karma. And the 10th house is the final karma that you do. And what is the second house again? It is the seed. 2, 6 and 10 are the Artha Trikonas. What is the second house? This is the seed of the Artha, seed of serving your purpose. What is seed? What is the seed you need? Your resources, your money, your speech, various resources, your family. All these are your resources that you can use in the karma that you do. So second house is the resources. Sixth house is using those resources to overcome the obstacles, and 10th house is finally after overcoming the obstacles, what is the karma that you are doing in the society? What are the activities that you are performing in the society? So these are the 3 houses of the things that you do. And similarly, dharma trikonas, first house is your very existence. That is the seed of your dharma that decides what your dharma or duties are. And 5th house is your abilities. So your abilities, again, they decide what your dharma is. Not everybody has the same dharma. Somebody with high abilities has high dharma. Somebody with low abilities has low duties. So 9th house is your final duties. Like this, if you look at the older MP3s, you will see that I went through all the trikonas, dharma trikona, artha trikona. There is a basic meaning for each house. So based on that, you can derive all other meanings. So for 3rd house, it's not war, but it's just the spark to go to war. Not just war, spark to do anything. That motivation, the initiative, that is the 3rd house. So one aspect of that initiative is the bravery to fight, the braveness to fight, that is from the 3rd house. So I said that A3 will show the things with which you measure somebody's bravery. If I come to you with a small knife, a very small knife, clay knife, and I say I'll kill you, will you think that I am brave? I will really kill you? Will you be afraid of me? Or if I come with a big sword, I said I'll kill you, will you be more afraid of me that way? Which will make you more afraid? With a big sword. So the sword that I am carrying, or the gun that I am carrying, the weapon that I am carrying, that will make you decide how brave I am, how bold I am, how determined I am. So the weapons that somebody uses, they are a measure of somebody's drive and initiative and bravery. So one of the things that A3 shows are the weapons. For me? Initiative. Yeah, initiative. And I said that initiative has different aspects. Communication skills, that is one aspect. Bravery, that is another aspect. So now I am talking about the aspect of bravery. So if you look at 3rd house as bravery, 3rd from Lagna will show my real bravery. 3rd from Arudha Lagna will show my perceived bravery, how brave people think I am. And A3 will show the 3rd Arudha of the 3rd house. That will show my weapons. The things which are a manifestation of my bravery. If I am brave and if I want to go to war, I will get some weapons. So using that A3, people will form an impression. So typically there is a link between all the 3, but there doesn't have to be. For some reason, I may have a big weapon with me, but people may think, oh, he's not going to do anything. It's just show. Yeah, he's just showing off. So in that case, A3 may have a malefic in it. A3 may have Rahu in it. So I may have a very destructive weapon with me. But the 3rd house from Arudha Lagna, if it has Jupiter in it, people will think, oh, he's carrying that weapon, but he's not using it. So even though people usually use A3 to form an impression about your bravery, it doesn't always have to be the case. If there is no link with the 3rd from Arudha, people may have a different impression. Just like the other example I gave, somebody may get an Oscar, but people may say, oh, he doesn't deserve it. That guy deserved it. This guy got because of politics. Or Filmfare Award in India, for example. So the award, the Oscar award that an actor got will be from A5 in Dashamsha. Dashamsha is the chart of his career, his activities, his profession. And 5th house is the house of abilities, recognition. So A5 is the manifestation of the recognition, the manifested, the tangible recognition, the tangible manifestation of one's abilities. So all the awards that one gets are from A5. So A5, if it has a good planet, during that planet's dasha, one may get an award, one may get a prize, one may get tangible recognition. But if the same planet is not beneficial to the 5th house from Arudha Lagna, people will think, oh, he doesn't deserve it. So people's impression about one's abilities is from 5th from Arudha Lagna. One's real abilities, inherent abilities are from 5th from Lagna. And the manifestations of abilities like awards, prizes, recognition, tangible recognition, material recognition, those are from A5. So let's look at a few more examples so that all these concepts will be very clear. The most important thing is astrology, especially Vedic astrology, has so many parameters. We have these Arudha Padas, Arudha Lagna, and there are many more parameters which I haven't introduced yet. Charakarakas, Naisargikarakas, Argala, Rashi Drishti, Graha Drishti. So because there are so many aspects, if you just combine all of them and get confused between them, if you use interchangeably, what will happen is when you want to explain things in charts, if you want to explain the known past, you will always be able to explain. You will see if there is an argala of the planet, you know that Rahu and the Dasha gave a particular result. Somebody got an award. So you will see, does Rahu have an argala? No. Does he have Rasi Drishti? No. Does he have Rasi Drishti on the 5th house? No. Does he have Rasi Drishti on A5? Yes. Okay. Then I will explain it. If you have that attitude of somehow or the other explaining things, you will always succeed in explaining the past. But when you want to make future predictions, you will not be on the mark always. You will always go wrong. So the danger with Vedic astrology, because it has so many parameters, is you can get confused between them. So it is very, very important to understand the distinction between various parameters. So you have to be very honest. Intellectually, you have to be very honest. If you say that Rahu is in the 5th house, and if you say, oh, that's why in the Rahu Antardasha he became very popular, he became a popular actor, that's not an explanation, because 5th house is not popularity. Popularity is from popularity is not from A5. Popularity is from 5th from AL, because people think well of that person. So it's 5th from AL. And if he got a particular tangible thing like an award or a hit movie, an actor got a hit movie, then a box office hit, then it is A5. So you have to see, based on what you are seeing in the real world, what you are trying to explain, you have to understand what is the parameter you have to use and choose the right parameter. If you can't explain it, if you look at the Dasha and Antardasha and if it doesn't make sense, just tell yourself, well, there's something that I don't understand, it doesn't make sense. Maybe the Dasha you are using is wrong. Maybe it's not Moon Vimshottari Dasha, maybe Lagna Vimshottari Dasha has to be used in that particular case, or maybe there is another Dasha. There are always so many things that all of us don't know. You don't know, even I don't know, even my teacher, Pandit Sanjay Raj, there are things he doesn't know. He is constantly discovering more and more in the teachings of the Maharshis. So we have to be very honest, intellectually very honest. If something doesn't make sense, accept it and move on. It doesn't hurt to accept that it doesn't make sense. But if you somehow explain it, you will not learn. So my advice to you is, ponder over all these things that I mentioned, these three aspects: house from Lagna, house from Arudha, Arudha Lagna, Arudha of the house. These three are very important things. Each has its own meaning. Ponder over it. You will understand it even more as you understand. Because now you may think that you understood it, but as you think more, you will understand it even more. And then look at example charts and try to make sense. Try to make sense of it in real charts, in your own charts, in the charts of people that you know. And if you don't understand something, you can ask me. If I understand it, I will explain it to you. But always be honest. If something doesn't make sense based on these basics, accept it and move on. But don't twist things. Yes, you had a question?
So, awards while a person is pursuing an education will be seen from Siddhamsa, A5
Yes.
in Siddhamsa.
Right.
While once he graduates or whatever comes into the workplace, that would be A5
Right,
in
right,
intention.
right, right.
Okay. And then A5 in, actually the problem is, like, I always try to correlate, but like from Rashi to going to the divisional right away, when do we want to go directly to divisional with the A5?
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. For now, what I will say is, Rashi chart, according to Parashara, is the chart of physical existence. And all these divisional charts, they are charts that show various environments: the learning environment, the professional environment, the financial environment. So these are the environmental charts. These are the charts under which your brain, your mind, your soul, they operate. But your physical body is shown from Rashi chart, is seen from Rashi chart alone. So if you see 4,000 Rashi chart, it is your physical comfort. It doesn't necessarily show your learning. If you are learning something, if it doesn't give you any physical comfort, it will not find reflection. But usually, the learning that you get, the love that you get from your mother, the house that you enjoy, the car that you drive, all these things also give you physical comfort. So that the physical comfort aspect of it is seen from the Rashi chart. But my advice is, if you are getting confused between Rashi and Varga, just use the divisional chart. You will be very successful. If you just ignore the Rashi chart, because Rashi chart finally shows whatever I am doing. For example, I am right now, if you look at my chart, if you look at my 9th house, the 9th house in my D24. Actually, do you have my chart, Kiran?
Yeah.
NR? Which, am I in famous personalities? Where am I? Which directory?
Go back to the file.
Oh, it is already open?
Yeah, file
NR, okay. Okay, the time is wrong. Can I correct it?
Yeah, please.
Oops. Come. Yeah, I hate this mouse.
Yeah.
For those who are listening to the CD or MP3, that birth data is April 4, 1970. The time is 17, that is 5 p.m. 17:47:8. 5 hours 47 minutes 8 seconds. And Machilipatnam. Oops.
0 seconds.
Okay. So if you look at my D24, the chart of learning. If you look at my D24, the chart in the bottom, you will see that the house of dharma. For example, I'm following my dharma relating to learning by teaching you astrology now. I have, by God's grace, I have some knowledge of astrology, and I'm studying that knowledge by writing articles, teaching people in real classes. So this is basically following my dharma, and dharma is from the 9th house. So if you look at my 9th house, the house contains Venus, and Venus is the lord of. What are the houses owned by Venus? So Venus, from Gemini Lagna, Venus owns the 5th house of scholarship and 12th house of giving. 12th house is the house of giving. 11th house is the house of getting, labha. 12th house is the house of vyaya. When I say vyaya, you may think that it is loss, losing something. It's not necessarily loss. It is basically giving. And if you see in my case, actually, the 11th lord Mars is the 11th lord, right? Which house is he in? He is in 12th house. So if you see that the 11th lord is in 12th house, the dictum given in classics is, he will basically spend whatever he gets. 11th lord is, he shows your gains. 12th house shows your giving. So the guy who owns the house of gaining things, he's in the house of losses. So he's always gaining things, but he is spending them. So what this means is, this person will not keep money. He will be getting money, but he will be spending it. He will be gaining money, but spending it. That is the classical dictum. But that dictum is for all divisional charts. When you use for a particular divisional chart, you have to adapt the meaning to what the divisional chart shows. Here, D24 shows learning, education. Not just education, it is learning. Actually, it is called Siddhamsa. Siddha means understanding. So this is a chart of understanding things, not just learning a particular formula or learning a particular subject. This is a chart of understanding things. So what this means is, whatever I get, I give it back. I usually don't like keeping things, especially relating to knowledge. Whenever I get something new, I am very eager to give it back so that I get more. And usually as I give things to people, I get more. I understand more as I ponder over it, or my guru teaches me new things. So I always benefit from giving things to people, and that's what you see from Mars placement. And now coming back to my dharma, the dharma that I have to follow, my real dharma, because I am looking from Lagna now. My real dharma is the 5th lord and the 12th lord Venus is in the house of dharma. What does that show? I have to use my scholarship, and I have to use the concept of giving. That is my dharma. My dharma is defined by Venus, whose agenda is 5th and 12th. Learn things. 5th is learn things, become a scholar, develop the ability. So that is one of the agendas of Venus, and the other agenda is 12th house, giving, to spend it away. So to build scholarship, to build the ability and use that to give things to people, that is my dharma. So if you want to see what kind of dharma I follow, the dharma I follow is that of giving, that of pursuing knowledge. Especially 5th house shows Vedanga knowledge. So knowledge relating to tradition, knowledge relating to Vedangas. So that is my dharma. But if you see the correlation with Rashi chart, look at where Venus is in my Rashi chart, the planet who shows my dharma. Where is he?
He is in 8th house.
He is in the 8th house. What is 8th house? House of occult knowledge. Okay, but we are talking about physical chart. Don't say occult knowledge. Occult 8th house will show occult knowledge in the house, in the chart of knowledge. We are talking about Rashi chart, the physical existence, my body, what my body and parts of my body go through. That is Rashi chart. So what is 8th house? Longevity, okay. Hard work, troubling yourself. 8th house is hard work. It is the house of tension. It is the house of suffering. It is also the house of death. Yeah. So So basically, I just train myself. So if you look at my Rasi chart and my D24, you will see that D24 is really nice. But Rasi chart, if you look at this Rasi chart, like I said in one of the earlier classes, when my father took my Rasi chart to an old astrologer, a popular astrologer, he basically uses Rasi chart. He said, oh, this guy is very unlucky, he will with a lot of difficulty he will pass BA and then he will be a teacher. But I did quite okay in education. He was quite off the mark because he used thumb rules. He saw that, oh, so many planets in 8th house, this guy is troubled. But what it can also show is that person can be always hardworking. Even if I get something, I'm never happy. I always work hard. So that's what it shows. So that is how you use the Rasi chart to see how physically whether one is enjoying, one is happy, one is sad, one is sick, one is healthy. To see all those things, you use the Rasi chart. But if you just want to see how one will do in education, you are better off just using the D24. So you will get pretty good results doing that. And like I said in the other class, never ignore the Shashtyamsha. So if you go to this Ansha rulers tab, these are the Shashtyamshas. Unfortunately, those of you who don't know Sanskrit will have a little bit of difficulty. Maybe in a future version I can give the meanings of those words. But there is a word that describes the Shashtyamsha occupied by each planet. And Shashtyamsha or D60 is the chart of karma. This is the blueprint at a karmic level that you carry from the past lives, not just past lives, but from all the past lives, based on all the things that you did. There is certain karma that you have to experience in this life. So Shashtyamsha is a chart that shows that particular karma that you are going to experience. So if you look at whether a planet is in benefic Shashtyamsha or a malefic Shashtyamsha, based on that, based on the Shashtyamshas occupied, even if a planet is in 8th house, it is possible that the person is always working hard but not struggling, working hard very happily. On the other hand, even if you find a planet well placed, for example a planet placed in the 10th house of karma, you may think that, oh, if this planet is in Kendra, in a quadrant, it is well placed. But if the planet is carrying bad karma, that means he will be suffering in career, suffering in profession. So you have to look at D60 irrespective of all charts, because when Parashara mentioned what you see in each chart, he said in Rasi you see physical matters, in Hora you see money, in D3 you see siblings. Like that he said, in D24 you see learning, in D20 you see spiritual pursuits. In D60 he said you see everything, because that is the overall karma, whether it is in my learning or spiritual pursuit or in the matter of children, whatever I experience. If the particular planet shows bad karma from past life, it only shows suffering. If a particular planet shows good karma from past life, it only shows blessings. So that is another important aspect. And now, so does it answer your question to some extent, the distinction between Rasi and Vargas? So similarly, if you see great Rajyogas in somebody's D10, that means during that particular dasha, the person will command lot of respect in society. He will be very successful. He will have a nice career, fabulous profession. But if the planet is badly placed in Rasi chart, in a Dusthana, he will not be able to physically enjoy the results. He may be a very influential person. He may be the president of a country, but he may be always sick or always struggling physically. So Rasi is the chart of physical existence, and it's by no means less important, because finally, come to think of it, it is physical. It is the physical body that we are most conscious of. What kind of knowledge you have, what kind of spiritual advancement you have, all these things do matter. But finally it all comes down to the body. As far as the mind is concerned, it all comes down to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, it's not bothered that much about the body. But the mind is so conscious about the body. So body is very important. So I'm not saying ignore the Rasi chart. Rasi is important. But if you are specifically interested in a particular matter, directly go to the divisional chart. You will be very successful that way. Let me take an example. Do you have India's chart? No, good. I'll make it. I'll save my chart, okay? Okay. Control D. Okay, India. So basically these principles can be applied to countries as well. In the case of India, when India got independence is very well known. There was a muhurta given by astrologers, and India got independence exactly at that time. So we know when India became an independent country. And the thing is, India as a country existed for a lot of years, for thousands of years. India as a country existed. The boundaries kept changing, but the India as a nation, as a state, as a union of human beings, a union of lot of human beings, it existed for a long time. But when India got independence from the British, a new existence started from India. So it is like a new birth for that nation. So if you know the independence time of a particular country, I mean, the thing is, exactly at that time, people started thinking of India. All those people who lived in that country started thinking of India as an independent country. So there is something in the collective consciousness of people which marks that particular time as the birth time of a particular entity. So even though it's not a human being, you can still use the concepts of astrology. So if you look at India's independence chart, unfortunately for US, there is no accurate time. There are so many different versions of US birth time. So unfortunately, I can't do the same exercise because I used various charts that are in circulation. I don't really get good results with any of them, so I just ignore it for now. So I will go to India. I will use India's chart. The birth time of India is August 15, 1997. The stroke of midnight, so I'll say 12:01. 1 second. It is Delhi. Yeah, Delhi. Okay. Let me save this first. Can I save it, Kiran?
Yeah.
Oops. India. Okay. So now let's look at India's chart. One event, because I said A3 shows weapons, one event that I want to explain you is, one event that let us take a look at is the nuclear test that India did in 1990, when was it? 98. 98.
First one was in 70.
Yeah, let's look at the second one. 98, when? May, right? May 9 or 10 or around that. Okay. So, it basically happened in which dasha, antardasha? Venus Mahadasha, and which antardasha? Rahu antardasha. Now let us see if Rahu has any link with A3. Can somebody tell me if Rahu has a link with A3? Where is A3?
It's in the 12th house.
12th house, but which house is it? It is Aries. A3 is in Aries. Does Rahu have Argala on it? Yes. He has a second house Argala. If you look at the Argalas on this particular house, highlight Rasis having Argala on this Rasi. So if you see the houses that have Argala on that Rasi, those are the green houses. Those are the 4 houses or 5 houses that have Argala. 3 of them are primary Argala, 1 of them is secondary Argala. And we said Argala means a conclusive intervention. So Rahu has, as far as India's weapons are concerned, Rahu has a very conclusive intervention. When does that happen? I said in a previous class, Rashi aspect, sign aspect is something that is always there. On the other hand, planetary aspect, Graha Drishti is a desire that will manifest in a particular period. Similarly, Argala is an intervention that must happen. It will happen. In the case of desire, it may or may not happen. If a planet has Graha Drishti on A3, he has a desire to give a particular kind of weapon. That planet has a desire. And does the desire actually manifest or not? It depends on the relationship between the Lord of that house, the Karaka, the significator, and the planet. So the analogy I gave earlier was, House Lord is like a group manager, and the Karaka is like a project manager, and the planet having Graha Drishti is like somebody who wants to work on a project. So if he is on good terms with his boss, and if he is on good terms with the project manager, he may get to work on that project. So using that analogy, you can do the analysis and decide whether the planet will be able to give its results or not, and in which dasha, antardasha. So Graha Drishti may or may not happen. Rasi Drishti is always there, irrespective of the dashas. And Argala is something that must happen. It is a very conclusive intervention. So the Argala Rahu has to happen in one of Rahu's antardashas. So if you look at Venus Dasha, does Venus have anything to do with the third house? He is in the third house. Venus is in the third house. And I said when you judge Mahadashas, Arudhas are less important. Because I said Mahadasha, the level of Mahadasha is ruled by Sun. Irrespective of which Mahadasha you are talking about, whether it is Venus or Sun or Ketu or whichever it is, when you divide Dashas into Mahadasha, Antardasha, Prachantardasha, the level of Mahadasha is ruled by Sun. The division itself is ruled by Sun. And the level of Antardasha, division of Dashas into Antardashas, is ruled by Moon. So at the level of Moon, because Moon shows mind, he shows the Devi, Sun shows Shiva and Moon shows Devi, Shakti. So at the level of Shiva or Satya or Sun, only truth matters. So houses and house lordships are more important. But at the level of Moon, mind is swayed by illusion. Because mind is basically Shakti, Devi. So at the level of Antardashas, Arudhas are far more important. So if you look at Venus Dasha, don't bother about the Arudha. Of course, in any case, even Venus has Argala on A3, but let's ignore it. Let's not give that as a reason. That is not an important reason. That's a very, very tertiary, not even secondary reason. It's a tertiary reason. The primary reason is Venus is in the third house. With who?
With the Moon, Saturn, Mercury, and
Yeah. So with the third lord. He is the Lagna lord. Lagna lord shows new beginnings. And he also shows exerting, self-exertion, expressing self. Because he shows the self. And he is in the third house of bravery. So he shows exercising one's bravery or declaring one's bravery. If Lagna Lord is in the third house, that will make the person brave and make the person declare his bravery. Especially because Lagna Lord is with third Lord, it is even more auspicious. So there will be events relating to the third house. So this period is a period when India will bravely make a new beginning. This is a period of new beginnings because Lagna Lord, and it's a beginning of brave decisions because the planet is in third house with the third Lord. And as far as weapons are concerned, there is a possibility of developing some disastrous weapons during that time. And to look at the weapons themselves, what kind of weapons are nuclear weapons? They are just, it's a sudden explosion. So Rahu and Ketu will show the weapon. It's not Mars. In general, all weapons that can kill will be shown by Mars. But big explosion is shown by Rahu and Ketu. Rahu and Ketu are the planets of sudden, shocking things. Mars can also show sudden things, but not as sudden. Mars shows things that are determined. Mars is the planet of determination, and Rahu is the planet of shock. So Rahu is the planet who can show nuclear weapons. So if you see Rahu, he has Argala on A3. So nuclear weapons, developing of something relating to nuclear weapons is possible in Rahu and Ketu Antardashas, especially Rahu here because Rahu has Argala on it, and it can be in Venus Dasha, Rahu Antardasha. So that is exactly when it happened. Now let us see in general how is Venus Dasha, how is Sun Dasha. If you want to generally see how the chart is. If you look at India's chart, let's look at various planets. Mercury Dasha was running when at the time, if you look at all the Dashas, Mercury Dasha, as soon as India got independence, Shani Dasha was running, right? Until 1965, India was running Shani Dasha. What kind of a planet is Shani for India?
Hard work.
Shani is the Karaka for hard work, but what houses does he own?
9th and 10th.
He owns the 9th and 10th house. So he is a Yogakaraka. If a planet owns trine and quadrant, a trine and a quadrant, the planet is called a Yogakaraka. That planet is auspicious. So Saturn is a Yogakaraka for India. So he is an auspicious planet. He is an auspicious planet. And now,
Please repeat that statement.
Yogakaraka, a planet, if a planet owns a trine and a quadrant, then the planet is called Yogakaraka. Okay. So Saturn is at the level of Rashi, at the level of physical existence of India. Saturn is a Yogakaraka. And where is he placed? He is placed in the third house. So overall, is this dasha a good dasha for India? Is it a dasha of prospering, dasha of gains, fortune, doing good karma? Is it a good dasha for India? Yes, that's what the chart will show. And whether India really prospered till 1965 is a subjective judgment. But the thing is, India was starting. It just started its existence as an independent country in 1947. Until then, India was in slavery for 1,000 years. So for a country that started its independent existence just in 1947, a lot of things happened in India. There was a green revolution, dams constructed everywhere, industrialization. So India did prosper, but the prosperity was given by not by Jupiter or Venus or somebody else. It was given by Shani. What kind of good results will Shani give? Shani is the planet of hard work. So whatever yoga Shani gives are basically relating to hard work. So India worked hard its way to prosperity during that time. And if you look at Mercury, and I said Shashtamsa is a very important Amsa. So if you look at Shashtamsa, what is the Amsa that Shani occupies? Komala. Does anybody know what Komala means? Delicate. So the prosperity that India enjoys is very delicate. It's not like great prosperity. It's a very, very delicate thing. That means if you do something, if you touch it a little bit, it will break. That's the kind of prosperity. So there is good bhagya, 9th house, good karma, 10th house, but it's very delicate, very delicately poised, and India is working hard during that time. And if you look at Mercury Dasha, where is Mercury? He is in Davagni Amsha. What does Davagni show? Does anybody know what Davagni means?
Spreading fire.
No, Davagni means forest fire. It is a fire that burns forest. So, would you think it is a good dasha or bad dasha?
Destructive. Very bad.
Why is forest fire destructive?
That's a subjective point. If you take
No,
the case-
not subjective. Davagni is there for a purpose in the world. It basically destroys the bad wood so that there is a new beginning. So this is basically a turbulent. The karma that India carries, this collection of human beings, the collection of billion human beings carries, based on the past karma of all the people who led to the existence of this country, based on it, the karma that this country carries is that of lot of turbulence, Davagni, lot of turbulence, and destroying bad things, destroying rotten things, and creating a new beginning. But lot of pain and suffering in that process. So this was the period. And what are the houses owned by Mercury? Second house and fifth house. Fifth house of children, fifth house of next generation. So this period, for example, there was family planning started in that period. Mercury is the fifth lord of children. So in the matter of population, India seriously took up population control during this time. They even had these forced operations on people, forced vasectomy on people, because of which Sanjay Gandhi became very unpopular. There was emergency. Indira Gandhi fell down. All that nonsense happened in mid-70s and late 70s. So this is the period when India thought about this population control, and did some good things, did some right things to stop the rot and to create a new beginning, but it created a lot of turmoil in the country. So that is basically, even though Mercury, if you look at the standard dictums, Mercury is a functional benefit for this Lagna. For Vrishabha Lagna, for Taurus Lagna, Mercury owns the second and fifth house. He is a benefit. So standard dictums will make you think that this is a good dasha. It is indeed a good dasha. But the karma that India had to experience was that of Davagni. So that is an important aspect. Of course, you can also not just look at one name like Amsha, Davagni. You can even look at the whole chart if you want. You can look at the whole chart and you see what is the karma that India has to experience. But let us not go through Shashtamsa right now. We will do it in a later class. But one thing is, Rashi, especially in the case of human beings, in the case of countries it's a little dicey, but in the case of human beings, as long as you know the birth time very accurately, if you know the Shashyam Lagna is very accurate, you can actually make predictions using Shashyam chart itself, even ignoring Rashi chart, because that is the karma that somebody experiences. And in the case of India, for example, at the physical level, you see that Saturn is a Yokaraka. But if you look in the Shashyam chart, the chart of the karma that you have to experience, what houses does Saturn own? He owns? No, Lagna is Leo in Shashyam chart. Saturn owns 6th house and 7th house. So, is he a good planet? No, he is a functional malefic. So, for Leo Lagna, he is a functional malefic, and he is also an enemy of the Lagna Lord. So, for Leo Lagna, Saturn is not a good planet. And which house is he in? He is in 4th house. He is in the Sukhasthana. That's not a good house for Saturn to be. 3rd, 6th and 11th houses are good for Saturn. So, he is in 4th house of Sukha. So, he shows Sukha Lopa. That means lack of comfort. So, there will not be comfort for India. And 6th house, what does the 6th house show? Obstacles. And here, note one thing. I am not looking at Arudha. This is the karma. I am looking at the level of karma, the tangible thing, the real thing, there is no such concept. So, when you look at Shashyamcha, the chart of the karma that you carry from the past lives, past existences, don't look at Arudha. Only look at Lagna, because there is only Satya, there is only truth in the plane of karma. So, Saturn is the 6th lord. So, what does 6th house show? Obstacles. It can also show wars, enemies. So, being the 6th lord, and he is aspecting the 6th house also, by Graha Drishti as well as Rasi Drishti, as well as Argada. So, Saturn owns 2 houses, 6th and 7th. So, 7th is basically new desires, new relationships. 6th is wars, enemies. But out of these 2 houses, Saturn has a stronger influence on 6th house, because he aspects it by Rasi Drishti, Graha Drishti, as well as he has Argada on it. So, this is a period of wars. 1947 to 1965 is a period of enmities, war, instability for India. So, that is the karma that India has to experience. But at the physical level, if you look at the physical infrastructure, there were so many dams built, so many industries, the green revolution, that is what the Rashi chart shows. At the physical level, there is a revolution in India. There is a lot of prosperity. But at the level of soul, at the level of karma, at the level of not the physical, mental, conscious level, but at a supra-conscious level, the whole country is experiencing turmoil and enmity. So, that is basically how you reconcile the two. But like I said, Shashyamcha is very important. In the case of India, because we know the time accurately, we can look at Shashyamcha. But if you try to look at it in your own chart, it changes. The Lagna in Shashyamcha changes once in every 2 minutes. So, you can't really be sure, because you can't be sure that your birth time is accurate up to a minute or so. So, you can't use it unless you rectify your chart, unless you are absolutely sure. But in case you are sure, then try to make sense of it. So, Mercury and then Ketu. How will Ketu Antardasha be? Ketu is the, what house does Ketu own? In the Rashi chart, he owns 7th house. He is in own house. He is well placed. But is 7th house a good house for Ketu?
No desires.
Pardon me?
No, not a good house.
It's not a good house for Ketu. Ketu is the planet of moksha. He is the planet of no materialism, spiritualism. He wants to give up material things. And he is placed in the house of Kama, desire. 7th is the house of desire. So, if the planet of moksha is in the house of desire, what does it mean? It will basically create confusion. But the thing is, he is Karaka for moksha, but he is the Lord for that house. So, it is like he has a dual responsibility. By lordship, his agenda is to create desire. But by inherent nature, he wants to lose desire. So, this is a period of confusion for India. India is confused between materialism, material growth, and then detachment. detachment from material growth. So India is confused during this time. This is a very crucial time for India, very critical time. And then in the Shashtyamsa, because I said Shashtyamsa is the actual karma that you experience. Where is Ketu? He is in the second house of resources. So is it a good placement for Ketu? No. Again for Ketu, 3rd, 6th and 11th house are good placements. If he is in any other house, he will burn that house. Ketu is also called Dhumra Ketu, basically the smoking Ketu. That means he converts that house to smoke, evaporates that house. So the second house of resources has Ketu in Shashtyamsa. So that means during Ketu's period, the resources of the country will be, basically there will be a crisis. Let's not say dissolved, it's not complete dissolution, but that is the direction that Ketu takes the country in. So there is a crisis relating to resources, money, etc. in the country. So when was that Dasha? Was it 80 to 90, 82 to 89 or something? Yeah. So 82 to 89. This is the time when Indira Gandhi died, and then Rajiv Gandhi came. There were financial reforms. So during this time, the country faced financial crunch. It did not really get as worse as, for example, when PVR Narasimha Rao came in 91 or 91, then it was really, the crisis was really horrible. But at this time it was more controlled, but still the country was in a financial crisis. And also Ketu in the second house can show unconventional things relating to money. So financial, in the field of finances, India opening up. And also Ketu is in the 7th house in Rasi chart, and what does 7th house show? Apart from desires, it shows relationships with people. So this is a time, and also Rahu and Ketu they are the significators of foreign things. So this is a period when India can open up to the world. So it was indeed the case. Rajiv Gandhi brought some openness in the Indian foreign policy. The country became more open to foreign participation. And if you look at Venus, the dasha that we are running right now, not we, but India is running right now. What amsha is Venus in? What is the Shashtyamsa Venus is in? Kala amsha. Is it a good amsha or bad amsha? Does anybody know what Kala means? Time personified. So it means it is neither good nor bad. It is basically it is balancing act, and then it is basically the balancing act coupled with ruthlessness, emotion, lack of emotion, because time personified, Kala has no emotion, it just runs with certain uniformity. Saturn is the significator for Kala. It's just discipline. Kala is a personification of discipline and following dharma without any emotion, without any attachment, detached and disciplined karma. So this is a period when India as a country, because that is the karma that India carries, and Venus is the Lagna Lord, India will make a new beginning without any emotion. A new beginning, basically cold. The word I am looking for is kind of cold, very cold-hearted new beginning that the country will make. That is what Venus in Kalamsha shows. And then if you look at the Shashtyamsa, the karma that India has to follow. At the physical level, because India is, Venus is the first lord in the Rasi chart, it shows a new beginning and a brave new beginning, because 3rd house, he is in 3rd house. But in Shashtyamsa, that is physically. At the physical level, based on what is going on physically in the country, if you look like India is making a new beginning, a new bold beginning. But if you look at the karma that is carrying, what houses does Venus own? The 3rd house, the 10th house. And he is in the 9th house. So basically 9th house, what does 9th house show? It is the dharma. So India will follow his dharma. And the 10th lord in dharma, dharmasthana, that is a good aspect. So that is like dharma karmadhipati yoga. So India will follow his dharma, sincerely, and do his karma in the world. So this is a very auspicious time for India based on Shashtyamsa. And also Venus owns the 3rd house of initiative in Shashtyamsa as well. So that karma, the karma is also there. Not only physically there will be initiative, but the karma of making a new initiative is also there with India. So because of the correlation between the two charts, this is definitely a period of new drive, new motivation. So this is a very motivating period for India. India will have new motivation, new initiative, and do new things.
You want to stop and read that?
Yeah, I will stop the recording. Okay. So if you look at Navamsa, what does Navamsa show?
Marriage and
Yeah.
like spouse, spouse.
Marriage and dharma, right? Basically, marriage is part of dharma. That is why it shows marriage. Basically, at the basic level, it shows dharma. So in the case of a country, what does Navamsa show? Again, the dharma of the country. And the part of dharma is how you interact with the international community. When you are looking at a nation, interacting with the international community. There is no marriage for India. India doesn't get married. But India does interact with all other countries, and how it interacts, how it interferes in certain countries that are going wrong, or how it cooperates with certain countries that are doing good things, that is part of India's dharma. So you can look at the international relations of India using Navamsa. So if you look at Navamsa, in the Navamsa chart, what houses does Venus own? Venus is the 3rd and 8th lord. So does it show, are there does it show any problems? Is there a chance of some problems in international relations for India during this time? Yeah, because he is a functional malefic in Navamsa. So there can be some problems, some worries relating to international relations. But is Venus taking part in any Raj Yoga? Can somebody tell me if Venus has a Raj Yoga? He is the 3rd and 8th lord. He is joining Saturn. What houses does Saturn own? From Pisces Lagna in Navamsa, Saturn owns 12th and 11th. If the 12th lord and 8th lord are together, is it a yoga? I told you earlier that two Dusthana lords, if 3rd, 6th, 8th and 12th lords are together, if a couple of those or more are together in one house, I said that is a Viparita Raj Yoga. What that shows is first some struggle and then some sudden great results. Raj Yoga will give good results, but Viparita Raj Yoga, Viparita means reversal. It gives great results after reversal. So first there is some struggle and then reversal. So, so if you look at Venus Dasha, there is first India goes through some struggle. Things are not good for India, and then there will be some good results, right? So, for example, in the early 90s, India's relations with different countries was mixed. India didn't have great relations with the Western Bloc. They were more aligned with the Russia. And towards the beginning of Venus Mahadasha, basically Russia fell down, and then India started rethinking their foreign policy. So it can also show Venus being the 3rd and 8th lord. 8th house is the house of instability and change. So it can also show changes in foreign policy. So during this time, in the beginning of Venus Dasha, there was confusion in Indian foreign policy, and finally, when will the Viparita Raj Yoga give results? Because of Viparita Raj Yoga, after confusion, India should have great results in the matter of foreign policy, great results in the matter of foreign relations, international relations. Which Antardasha will give that result of the Viparita Raj Yoga? Obviously, Saturn. Because Venus and Saturn have this Raj Yoga, Viparita Raj Yoga. So Venus Dasha, Saturn Antardasha is the one where you can expect the results of this Viparita Raj Yoga. Suddenly India's stature will rise and India will have more well-wishers, more friends in the world. So when is that Antardasha? 2000. We are running it right now. India is running that Antardasha right now. It started in 2002. So it is of course the thawing of the relations between India and Pakistan, India and US, India and various European countries, that started long back as soon as Venus Dasha started. But the culmination, the peak of that came in 2002-2003. That is the time when India rose in international stature. That is when the Viparita Raj Yoga is fructifying.
Also A7 is there.
Pardon me? Yeah, A7 is there. That basically shows, what does A7 show? A specific relation. 7th house is generally relations, and A7 will show a specific relationship starting. So during Shani's periods or Venus periods, Venus and Shani Antardashas, a specific new relationship may start for India. Yes?
Venus is on 10th house, right?
Where are you looking? Which chart?
Navamsha.
Why is he 10th house? If you look from,
11 house.
this is first house, this is 12, this is 11th, yes?
11th house.
Of gains, yes. Yeah? So what is your question?
No, but we said is the Lagna is 3rd and 8th house.
He is the lord of 3rd and 8th houses. So if you look from Pisces, 1, 2 and 3, he wants the 3rd house.
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, he wants the 8th house. So Venus wants 3rd and 8th houses. So that is why he is a functional malefic. Functional malefic means the guy who owns bad houses. So because he owns bad houses, he is not a good planet. But again, because of the Viparit Rajoga, he suddenly becomes a good planet. So his dasha is very tentative. There are a lot of changes in the foreign policy, but finally things end well. Especially in Shani Antardasha, there will be a peak.
One more question.
Yes?
Is Navamsha in the regular human being?
Yeah.
In that case, how do we decide if marriage is successful or is not successful?
Okay, if you want to see marriage, 7th house is the house of marriage, the relationship. And 4th house is the house of sukha, comfort. So if you want to see marital happiness, look at the 4th house. We'll see more examples. We haven't done a lot of examples of Navamsha until now. We have only seen Dashamsha, D24, D20. We'll do some Navamsha examples also. But let's first concentrate on this particular example, which is India. Yes?
One is when they give you birth time, they do not give the seconds, they give hours and minutes.
Yeah.
Is that still okay to get an accurate chart of a person?
First, two things. Just because they give seconds, somebody may give, some people actually give seconds also.
Okay.
Just because they give seconds, it doesn't mean it's right.
Okay.
And suppose somebody doesn't give seconds, suppose somebody gives 5:43, it doesn't mean even minutes are right.
Okay.
Just because somebody said I was born at 5:43, it doesn't mean he was born at 5:43. He may have been born at 5:40 or 5:45. There may be a couple of minutes of error. When my child was born, when my daughter was born, I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
I had a calibrated watch.
Yes.
The time that they noted in the birth certificate is wrong by a minute and a half.
I see.
So I was there, so I noted it down. So I know that it's wrong. So they don't really care. Why should anybody note it down up to minute or up to second? They approximately note it. Especially in old days, it could even be rounded to the nearest 15-minute mark.
Oh, okay.
If somebody was born at 9:50, they may say 9:45. Usually it is like after some time somebody will say, oh, by the way, when was he born? And then somebody who was in the room will recollect it and they will write it down. So it's not necessarily the, and another thing, the definition used for birth time,
Yes.
God knows if we have the right definition. There are,
That was my question.
yeah, there are, even though I noted down the time for my daughter, I noted down various times because there are different definitions. Like when you see the head, when the baby falls on earth, when they cut the umbilical cord, and the baby breathes for the first time. So we don't know the real definition. Like I said in an old class, one view that is expressed in classics is it depends on the yuga where you are living. One definition for Krita Yuga, one definition for Treta Yuga, another definition for Dwapara Yuga, and for Kali Yuga there is another definition. So that is one view, but there are so many different views. And definitely it will be very arrogant of me to think that I know the answer. So nobody really knows the answer. So even if somebody had an accurate watch and noted it down, God knows what definition they used. So the bottom line is, whenever somebody gives you a date and time, never assume that the time is right, even if they give it up to seconds. So you have to always be mindful that the time could be wrong by maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And in some cases, I know I have some Chinese friends who gave me a time and said, oh, I was born between 9 and 10. So he doesn't even know the time. And some people say I was born sometime in the afternoon after they had lunch. So sometime after they had lunch. So the thing is, sometimes you have a big window, sometimes you have a smaller window, but you always have a window. Even if they give you up to a minute, it's not necessarily accurate. So you have to look at the events that happened in life and correlate with various divisional charts. And if it doesn't make sense if you change Lagna by a sign or by a couple of signs. That is how you have to approach it. If you can make sense, then you can be sure that the time is right. The bottom line is, if you can't make sense of things, the chart is not right. Yes,
Maybe
Prashant.
just a suggestion, just because birth time rectification is such an important thing, because that's the baseline of charts.
Yeah.
So I think maybe in future sometime we should have a class just for birth rate.
Go through some examples of how that is done.
Yeah, how to do that.
Sure, we'll do that. We'll do that.
And also,
Yeah.
and also, just not events, are there any prevalent techniques? There are, but are they suggested or rectifying time based on events?
Yeah.
Like things like Nadi and all those
Yeah.
techniques.
There are some Nadi techniques that we don't know if they're accurate.
Mhm.
In other words, there are some techniques, but all that knowledge is totally corrupted knowledge. So what we have is a highly corrupted version. There are other concepts like Pranapada, Kunda, there are some formulas. Basically, again, in my strong belief, those concepts may have been right, but they are totally corrupted now. They don't really work because some of those techniques, they divide the time into certain quanta. A quantum in which people can be born, a quantum in which people cannot be born, a quantum in which people can be born. And those quanta are so big that it just doesn't make sense. It is like, according to one technique, people can be born for like say half a minute, and then nobody can be born for 4 minutes. And then people can be born for another half minute. So if you have a rectification technique like that, a lot of people use it, but it doesn't make sense to me because I know that I know examples of people who were born a couple of minutes apart. For example, heptuplets or sextuplets or quadruplets that you see in news sometimes. They are born just 1.5 minutes apart. But according to some of those techniques, standard techniques of rectification, it is impossible. All of them must have been either born together in the same half-minute period or 5 minutes apart. It just doesn't make sense. So there are techniques, but my strong belief is that those techniques are corrupted. For example, there is one technique that says, for a person to be a human being, in the Navamsha, Pranapada Lagna, there is a Lagna known as Pranapada Lagna. It is shown as PP in this software. So that Lagna should be in a trine from moon, either with moon or in the 7th from moon or a trine from moon. Because moon is the significator of men, or human beings. Similarly, if it is a fish, it will be Ketu. If it is a bird, it will be sun. There are karakas for various beings. So for a human being, Pranapada Lagna has to be in a trine from either in 7th or trine from moon. So that is one principle. Now the thing is, some people use it in Rashi chart, not in Navamsha. And what that means is, if you go and I actually saw an example. Somebody was born at 2:10, an astrologer rectified it to 1:5. Because he said at 2:10 human beings cannot be born. It must have been 1:5. And the guy says, no, it can't be so wrong. Maybe wrong by a few minutes, but my father took the time down when I was born. So the thing is, that is the level of stupidity. I'm sorry for using that word, but that is the level of stupidity some astrologers use. If you use Navamsha instead of Rashi, the level of stupidity becomes much less. But the thing is, still, Pranapada may be okay, but other techniques like Kunda, I'm really skeptical. So, in my view, and another thing, in the definition of Pranapada Lagna, there are so many other parameters like sunrise time. If the sunrise time changes by a little bit, the definition, the Pranapada Lagna totally changes. So, there are techniques that don't make sense rationally, and there are techniques that make sense rationally, but those are not practical because they use certain parameters that are ambiguous based on current level of knowledge. So because of that, my advice is the most reliable way is to look at the events. And the thing is, even if you have a reliable technique, the technique would use very small quanta. It can't use, this 5 minutes he can't be born, this half minute he can be born. That kind of techniques they don't make sense, we agree, right? So it has to be, they have to be the quanta, the period where a person can be born has to be separated by like half minute or so. You can say during this half minute period, during these few seconds a person can be born. During this half minute period, during these few seconds a person can be born. The real technique, Nadi based technique would be something like that. And that technique is anyway useless. If your accuracy, if the inaccuracy you have is like 5 minutes. If somebody says I was born between 9:05 and 9:10, so there are so many quanta anyway. So you have to use events anyway. So you see what I am saying? So practically, even though there are techniques, you must use events to come to the right ballpark. Once you come to the right minute, maybe to get the right second, you can use those techniques. But again, those techniques are not reliable at this point of time. So I use only events. Okay. So
I had another question.
yes, you had a question.
We
Yeah.
are talking about India. Now,
Yeah.
you know, is there a way to say when will the Kashmir problem will be resolved?
Usually in the class I don't want to make any predictions.
Okay, yeah.
But-
Or, wow, you know, there is a lot.
But let's see, how will be the sun dasha? Let's not say Kashmir in specific, but let us say how the next dasha will be for India.
There are about 40,000 people killed in Kashmir in the last 10 years.
Right. So how will sun dasha be? Can somebody tell me how will sun dasha be for India? At the physical level, in the Rashi chart, sun is he's in the third house, not one house. He's in a friend's house. He's in third house, moon's house, in a friend's house. So he is well placed. Is third house a good placement for sun? It is actually better than Venus third. Venus is in third. Compared to that, sun in third is even better because he is a malefic. He is a papagraha. So for a papagraha, third house is good. For sun, Mars, Saturn, Rahu and Ketu, third house is very good. It will make India bold. And from Arudha Lagna, where is sun? He is in 11th house. So it will make the world look like India is gaining. And is he carrying good karma or bad karma? Yakshamsha. What does Yakshas show? Yakshas are higher beings. They are demigods, higher beings who are very skilled. So basically this is a period, because that is the karma India is carrying, this is a period when India will rise in stature of a demigod. In other words, India will also, they are very skillful. Yakshas are magical, they are capable of magic and they are very skillful. So what it shows is India will, in the world, India will get the reputation of being very skillful, bordering on magic, on the level of magicality. So India will, basically shows prosperity. India will really shine. So the India shining slogan that the BJP government used in the last elections will be more applicable in that period, in the sun dasha that is yet to come. And if you look at the Shashyamsha, what is Shashyamsha? The chart of karma. What does sun show? What is the sun? What are the signs? What are the houses sun owns? He owns Lagna. Lagna Lord is the most auspicious planet in any chart.
And he is aspecting.
And he is aspecting Lagna. He is aspecting Lagna from, and he has a Rajoga with Mars.
Yeah.
Mars is the 4th and 9th Lord. For Simha Lagna, Leo Lagna, Mars is the 4th and 9th Lord and Sun is the Lagna Lord. So they are aspecting each other. Their Paraspara Drishti, their mutual aspect is a Rajoga. So there is a great Rajoga in Shashyamsha. So Sun Dasha will overall be, I expect it to be a great Dasha for India. However, in Navamsha, if you look at Navamsha, is Sun well placed? How is Sun placed? He is the 6th Lord in Lagna. What does 6th Lord show? Obstacles. And this is a chart of relationships with the other countries in foreign policy. So in that chart, he owns the 6th house of obstacles and war. So that shows some enmity. And he is sitting in Lagna. If the 6th Lord is sitting in Lagna, what does that show?
He's going to drive.
Pardon me?
He's going to have basically
Lots of obstacles, but will be
Sitting on head. Lagna is basically head. So it is, the enemy is coming and sitting on you. That means an unavoidable enmity, unavoidable war. So unfortunately, God forbid, but there is a very good chance that even though Venus Dasha did not see any wars, only changes and tension, there is a pretty good chance that Sun Dasha will unfortunately see a war, but it will finally be a good Dasha for India. So in the matter of relations with foreign countries, there will be some warmongering, or not actually warmongering on India's part, because if Lagna Lord is in 6th house, then India will be warmongering. But 6th Lord in Lagna means India will be troubled by an enemy. So there is chance of a trouble by an enemy during this period.
Does it mean India will be its own enemy when Lagna, I mean 6th Lord?
No, it's not.
No.
6th Lord is no.
That's internal problem.
No, it's not India is its own enemy. This is not the chart of international problems. This is the chart of relationships with other countries. And 6th Lord in Lagna will show enemy coming and sitting at you, sitting on your head. Whereas Lagna Lord going and sitting in 6th house means you going and sitting on enemy's head. That means you troubling the enemy. That shows warmongering.
So in that relation, like in Navamsha, Lagna Lord is Jupiter in 3rd house. So,
Yeah.
Drive and
Yeah.
so that means that even if the enemies come, India will be able to overcome.
But Jupiter is not a
But because
is a benefic planet.
So
So in the house of drive, it is Jupiter. So India's drive, India's initiative towards relations with other countries will usually be slow and peaceful. But that is not how the world looks at India. If you look at Arudha, India as a nation, as an entity, India and Indians have a peaceful initiative towards other countries. When it comes to relations with other countries, Indians have an inherently peaceful attitude because Jupiter is in 3rd house from Lagna. But look at Arudha. Arudha Lagna, the 3rd from there is Virgo. And it is owned by Mercury, true, but who is aspecting it? There is no planets. Look at Rashi aspects. Those are permanent influences. Who are aspecting it? Sun in Pisces and Mars in Sagittarius are aspecting Virgo, the 3rd from Arudha Lagna. So, what is the image in the matter of international relationships? What is the image India has in the rest of the world? Sun and Mars, aggressive planets aspecting 3rd. So, India is seen as an aggressive country. That may not really be India, but that is how India is seen. Okay. Now, let us stop the discussion on India and let us look at some other charts. Do you guys? Should I start Saptamsha now? Actually, you asked Navamsha, right? Let's see. Let's do more examples of Navamsha, of real people.
This morning I was working on one
Yeah.
Navamsha, so I thought, how do we?
Okay. If you have the data, I can take that data.
Would you please take it?
Yes. 1 second.
22nd.
Control N, Control D. Yeah. May
22nd,
Yeah.
1972.
1972.
Yeah, it's 8:15 p.m.
8.
15.
8. Oops. Gregorian. 8.
15.
15 p.m.
Yeah. Then it's Prabhatur.
Prodhutur.
Yeah.
I think this.
I know this is a close person and it didn't work well, so.
Okay. We'll try to see.
PRA.
No, that's correct.
Prabhatur.
Actually, he wrote something, but it came as VDA. That is the correct.
Yeah, Prabhatur.
Prodhutur is basically 14 north 44. So it's south of Machilipatnam.
Yeah, it's in
And-
Kadapa district.
Okay, it makes sense. It is basically in that area. Yeah.
Longitude and 1443.
Okay.
PRA.
PRO Prodhutur. PRO DD8UR. Prodhutur. So that is the place. May 22, 1972, 2015. Prodhutur, India. 5:30 time zone east of GMT. 78 east 33. 14 north 44. For those who are listening to the MP3s.
And the altitude is not important.
No, it's not important. It's important if you are doing topocentric position.
Okay.
I'm doing geocentric. Geocentric? Is that your default? Okay, good. Okay, now let's look at Navamsha of this person. Okay. So, first before doing any Varga, just check how close the Lagna is to the border. Because Lagna stays in one sign in Navamsha for around 14 minutes, roughly 14 minutes. But the thing is, at the time that you are looking at, it may be on the verge of changing in just 1 minute for all you know. It may be changing back or changing forward. We don't really know. So it is a good idea to check how close Lagna is to a border. So when Lagna will change sign in Navamsha, if I click on it, 2 minutes 55 seconds earlier, if the time changes by 2 minutes 55 seconds earlier, then Lagna will change to previous sign. Or if it is 11 minutes 43 seconds later, then Lagna will change to next sign. So we basically, as long as you know that the time is within a couple of minutes, we are basically right. And 11 minutes is unlikely. Is it something, is it a birth time that was reasonably accurately taken?
Yes, I think so.
That is believed, right? Okay. So it's not like he said I was born between 8 and 9.
No.
Okay. So probably the next sign is ruled out. But still keep your mind open,
Yeah, that's too
because the definition may be breathing, and they may have taken the time when the baby came out, and for some reason that particular baby may have breathed long later, maybe 15 minutes later. That is possible. So sometimes the time can be wrong even by 15 minutes, but let's say to start with, let us say it can't be the next sign. It is either that sign or
this way.
the previous sign, because time can be wrong by 3 minutes. That is possible.
Watch can be slow.
Yeah, there can be couple of factors working together. 3 minutes is usually quite possible. I see it in so many charts. So based on this, we know that the time can be either this sign or that sign. The Pisces, it can be Aries or Pisces. The Navamsa Lagna we have here is Aries. It could be Pisces also. Now, what do we know about this person's Navamsa related events?
This person got married in 1997.
He got married in
1997.
1997. Okay.
Yeah. And then divorced in 2004.
1997 and 2004.
Yeah. I mean the divorce is going on in 2004.
Okay. Now he started the divorce proceedings.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now let us look at this dasha. During which antardasha did he get married?
1997.
1997, right. So that is
May 1997.
May 1997. So which antardasha is it? Let's go up to antardashas now, because we haven't really done dashas. So I'll go up to Mahadasha, Antardasha. So Rahu Dasha, let us keep it aside. Let's concentrate on Antardasha. Of course, Rahu should have some link in order to give the marriage, but Antardasha is even more important. So which Antardasha gave marriage? Saturn. Okay. Let us leave it there. Saturn gave marriage. Now, who gave the divorce proceedings? When did the divorce proceedings start? Venus. If the Lagna is accurate, is it possible that Venus could have given divorce to this person?
No.
Look at the Lagna. Lagna Lord is Mars. He is exalted in 10th house, in a Kendra. And Venus, what houses does he own? The 2nd house of family and 7th house of spouse. So Venus is the planet who owns the 7th house of marriage, marital life, and he is joining Lagna Lord. Is it a Raj Yoga? Lagna Lord and 7th Lord being together. Lagna Lord doubles as a trine Lord and 7th Lord is a quadrant Lord. So trine Lord and quadrant Lord being together. So that's a Raj Yoga. So there is a Raj Yoga between Lagna Lord and 7th Lord. So even though Venus and Mars are enemies, so if this is the right chart, the person and the wife have some incompatibility. They will be fighting, but they will live happily. Happily or not, they will live together, and they will do a lot of good things together, because the Raj Yoga has Argala on the 9th house. In the Navamsha, 9th house is very important. When you get married, the purpose of marriage is dharma, to uphold dharma, to do your dharma in the society together. So the dharma sthana is very important, and these two planets having Raj Yoga in Capricorn, they have Argala on the 9th house, Sagittarius, because they are in the 2nd from there. So what you can conclude from this is, even though there will be some incompatibility between them, they will be together, they will do their dharma in the society, they will do pujas, they will help people around them. So that is what you would conclude. And once again, breaking of marriage in Venus Dasha, can you make sense of it in any way?
No.
No, absolutely not. Venus will give marriage, not break. So something is wrong.
The only thing is it's a Maraka also.
Pardon me?
Venus is a Maraka.
Yeah, but 7th house of marriage is the Maraka Sthana. So when you are looking at Navamsha, don't look at 7th house as Maraka. Basically, getting married itself is killer. But that is not good logic. Yes.
Shouldn't we be looking at the 2nd house from Jewel and the 8th house?
2nd house from?
2nd and the 8th house from Upada for the longevity of
Upada is not really, Upada is the dharma that they do in the marriage. It's not really the marriage. Marriage itself is from the 7th house.
Okay.
The thing is, the marital life, the marriage ceremony that you can see from Upada, getting married, that is a tangible thing that you can see from Upada. But if you look at the 7th house itself, that shows how the marriage is progressing. Again, divorce is, now here you have to be clear about one thing. Like I said earlier, tangible things are from Arudhas, right? But why am I looking at 7th house here? Why not at an Arudha? Because if they are getting married, the marital life itself, which is an intangible internal thing within that person, that is basically suffering too. So that is actually even more important than how people are perceiving, or whether there is a case going on in court or not. You should be able to see that also. But when you can see the correlation between truth and Maya, better look at the truth. There are certain cases where there is no correlation. But when you are looking at a marriage and divorce, there is a correlation between the truth and the Maya also, and the illusion also. So I am directly looking at the truth here. But you should be able to look at Maya also. That we will do later. So 7th house is the house of marital life, the relationship that you have. So if the person is getting married, the relationship is getting, the person is getting divorced, the relationship is getting broken. It's being destroyed. So what are the houses that you should see for divorce or trouble in marriage? The 8th house of Mrityu. 8th house is the second from 7th. Second house is Margasthana. So second from 7th is either the sustenance of marriage or breaking of marriage. If the sustenance is weak, it will be breaking. So 8th house is the house of breaking in marriage. 6th house is the house of fights with the wife. So 6th and 8th houses are important for divorce or even struggle or quarrels.
In Navamsa?
In Navamsa. So if you look at this house, if you look here,
A7 playing any role?
pardon me?
A7 in Navamsa playing a role?
7th house is the relation,
Yeah.
and A7 is the manifestation of the relation.
That is marriage.
That is basically the actual marriage.
Actually.
So when the divorce actually manifests, when the courts annul the marriage, then it will not be the 7th house. You should look at A7. If you want to time the divorce, it is a break in A7. A7 is the marriage. When people look at that person, they think he is married because there is a particular marriage ceremony that happened, and the world has a tangible image that this person is married to a woman or to a man, whatever it is. So A7 shows the tangible thing, the tangible manifestation of the relationship. So that is the actual marriage, not the wedding ceremony, but the marriage between the two, that is A7. So when the marriage is broken by law, when a court of law says you are no longer married, people will start thinking, oh, he is no longer married. That particular marriage that started on so and so day ended now. So A7 will show that marriage, but 7th house will show the relationship itself. Why did I look at 7th house and not A7 now? Because divorce hasn't happened yet. It just started. The procedure just started. What started now is the relationship is basically in tatters because they went to a divorce proceeding. So that is why I looked at the Satyapitha, the seat of truth, the Lagna. I looked at the 7th house. Are you clear about what A7 shows and 7th house shows now? Good. Now, and another aspect is, if you look at the 7th from Arudha, that shows what kind of marriage he has in people's view. 7th from Arudha is what is the relationship he has in people's minds, in people's view. That is 7th from Arudha. 7th from Lagna is what is the actual relationship he is having with his wife. And the A7 is the actual marriage. Okay. Now let us see. Now, so we said that Venus cannot give this result. We just cannot reconcile, right? Good. So if we move it to the previous sign, let me just do that. Instead of changing the time, because
Good question. Shouldn't we factor in that?
We shouldn't. What is it anyway?
Mars is the 8th lord.
Yeah.
Mars is the 8th lord also.
He is Lagna Lord too.
Okay. So
He is Lagna Lord too.
Lagna Lord too.
So that doesn't really matter. Okay. So what I am doing is I am saying change birth time to move Lagna to the next sign. So within the software allows you, within each divisional chart, you can move to the next application. Previous, you are right. The previous sign. So the time is changed just enough so that Lagna moves to Pisces in Navamsa. It's on the border of Pisces and Aries. If you want, you can change it a little bit more later, but this is sufficient for now. So and roughly this will be like 3 minutes. We saw it earlier. So roughly it changed by 3 minutes. So now is Venus capable of giving?
Yeah, because Venus now is a 8 house lord.
Venus is
The 8 house lord.
8th house lord.
And he's also in Raja. No,
What?
with Mars.
He is with Mars. Is it a Viparita Raj Yoga? No.
No, it's not.
It's not Saturn like in the earlier case, like in India's case. In India's case, it was the same Lagna, Venus was in the same place, but he was with Saturn. So there was a Viparita Raj Yoga. There was a lot of instability in foreign policy, but there was a good result at the end. But here, Venus is with Mars in Capricorn. And what does that show? Mars is not a Dusthana Lord. He owns 2nd and 9th house. But Venus owns 3rd and 8th house. So the planet who owns the house of instability, Venus, he is spoiling the planet who owns the Dharma. Mars owns the Dharma Sthana. So this change or these troubles are spoiling his Dharma. So that is why he went for divorce proceedings. So Venus being with Mars is actually bad now. It is not a Raj Yoga. It is not even a Viparita Raj Yoga. Now this shows bad results. And what are the Arudhas where Venus is placed in? Arudha Lagna and A8. So A8 is basically, it is divorce. A8 is, 8th house is some kind of end or some kind of change, and A8 is a tangible change. So this is, divorce is one of the things that A8 can show. Mrityapada is called Mrityapada. It can show divorce in Navamsha. So Venus Antardasha can actually give divorce. And there is Arudha Lagna also. So his image is changed. How is it changed? In a good way or bad way? Mars there will give a good image. Mars is the 9th lord. From Lagna, whenever you see whether a planet gives a good image or bad image, what kind of impact it has on image, you should look at whether the planet is a good planet or bad planet. And that you always do from Lagna. From Lagna, see if the planet is good or bad. And then functionally, the functional nature of the planet is always from Lagna, never from Arudha Lagna. But what kind of impact it has on the status or image from Arudha Lagna. So here from Lagna, Mars owns 2nd and 9th house. He is a functional benefit. He is a planet of Dharma. So being in Lagna, being in Arudha Lagna, he gives the image of somebody who is a little bit forceful because it is Mars, but who is very dharmic, who follows his Dharma well, whether in marriage or in outside things. People have somehow that kind of image. As far as his dharmic life is concerned, his profession may be different, his learning may be different. In the matter of learning, people may have a different image. In the matter of profession, at his workplace, people may have a different image. But in terms of marriage and dharmic life, people have an image of him as a dharmic person who's a little bit forceful but very dharmic. But that image is also influenced by Venus. And Venus, he is the 3rd and 8th lord. He is not a good planet. So he gives a bad image. So basically here he gives the 3rd and 8th are the house of instability. So they give the image of an unstable person. So whether divorce is his fault or not, somehow the image that people have is he's not mature enough, he can't have a good relationship. He is basically, he is a person who has instability, immaturity in the matter of relationship because Venus owns 3rd and 8th. So that is the image that Venus will give that person. And when will the Venus image be given? In Venus Antardasha. So during this time, his image is taken a little bit of beating. During Mars Antardasha, again the image there may be a good image. In 2007, 2008, he will have a good image. He will do a lot of dharmic things and people have a good image of him. So like this, whenever you look at Antardasha, look at Arudhas.
So you also have to consider that Saturn is the owner of that house. And
yes.
In his influence also has to be looked at?
Yes. So Venus and Saturn have a parivartana.
Right.
Venus and Saturn have a parivartana. So because of this parivartana, that is a very important point. So Venus will give the results of Saturn and Saturn will give the results of Venus. So or that is actually not a good way to put it. Venus will give results as if he is in the 3rd house. Saturn will give results as if he is in 11th house. So that is basically the how you will interpret it. So
the divorce is after a lot of hard work. When the Saturn is giving the result.
So Venus will act like Saturn there. Venus will act as if Saturn is placed in that house. So there will be some suffering also. Saturn is the planet of suffering and hard work. So whatever changes occur in Venus period, there will be lot of suffering and lot of hard work, lot of pain. Pain is what Saturn gives. Now, Shani's Dasha. Is Shani capable of giving marriage? Why did Shani give marriage? Can somebody tell me why Shani gave marriage?
He's acting like Venus.
Pardon me? He acting like Venus. He is the Karaka, but he is acting like Venus placed in that house, in Taurus. But what are the Arudhas in that house? Upapada. Upapada Lagna. And I said earlier, Upapada Lagna shows, when you asked, I said that shows marriage. When you are looking at divorce, you see other things. But the actual ceremony of getting married is from UL, Upapada Lagna. So, Upapada Lagna is in Taurus. And Saturn is in Upapada Lagna. So, Saturn can give marriage. Especially because, usually Saturn is not a good planet. He may or may not give marriage. But he is acting like Venus there because of the Parivartana. So, he is acting like Venus placed in his own house in Upada. Upada is in Taurus and his Lord is Venus, and Saturn acts as if Venus is placed in that house because of the exchange of the houses. So, because of that, Saturn Antardasha is certainly capable of giving a marriage. And even in terms of Lagna houses from Lagna, what house is that? Third house of initiative. So, in the matter of dharma, in the matter of getting married, in the matter of relationships, this is a house of initiative. So, during that time there is initiative relating to dharma. So, again initiative is important for marriage. So, 3rd, 7th and 11th houses, those 3 houses are important for marriage. Okay. So during this Antardasha, Saturn Antardasha, it certainly makes sense if he gets married, and during Venus Antardasha, it certainly makes sense if he starts the divorce proceedings. And in general, is the marriage likely to be good or bad? So far we did timing. Which Antardasha he got married, which Antardasha he did not get married, because he gave some times, and we want to make sure whether Lagna is right or not. And based on this particular event, we think that the time is wrong at least by 3 minutes. Of course, it may be wrong by 5 minutes. It may be even further. By using other vargas, Dashamsha, Siddhamsha, when he started education, when he finished education, what job he is doing, when he changed jobs, when he got promotion, using those, doing similar analysis, you could basically narrow down the window. So the original time is here, we rectified it back, and we have a 14-minute window, because Navamsha, Lagna and Navamsha stays in the same sign for around 14 minutes. So we have a 14-minute window now. We could rectify it even further by using various divisions. But now, let us assume that this is right. Our rectification is not accurate, but right as far as Navamsha is concerned. So now, let's use this Navamsha chart and say some things about his marriage. Is he likely to be happy in marriage? Is he happy to be comfortable in marriage? How is marriage? How is... First, let's look at the Lagna. Lagna is the seed of your existence. Lagna shows the essence, the very essence. So, Lagna Lord, where is he? Lagna Lord is in the 6th house. So, is that good or bad? No. Does anybody see that there is an exchange? There is a Parivartana. So, Jupiter, the Lagna Lord, is in 6th house. But the 6th Lord, Sun, is in Lagna, Pisces Lagna. So Jupiter acts as if he is in Lagna with Moon. And Sun acts as if he is in other words, Jupiter acts like, Jupiter in his periods he gives the results of Sun placed here. And Sun gives the results of Jupiter placed here. So because of it, Lagna is actually strong. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean marriage. It is basically the chart of dharma. So as far as dharma is concerned, the person basically has a strong basis for his dharmic existence. For his dharmic life, there is a strong foundation. That is what Lagna being strong means. But the 6th house, we said that Jupiter acts like Sun there. So is Sun well placed there? He is in one house, in the house of obstacles. So the house of obstacles is strong. And who is Sun with? Ketu. Is he happy or sad with Ketu? Ketu is He is an enemy. He's the worst enemy of Sun. He causes eclipse of Sun. So when Sun is with Rahu or Ketu, basically Sun is in a very troubled state. So the sixth lord is in the sixth house in a very troubled state. So that means there is some quarrel proneness is there. Sixth house is the house of quarrels. So in the matter of following his dharma and following his dharma in marriage, there is a tendency to be troubled easily and be quarreling. So sixth house being strong, that is a bad thing. Now, however, the two houses that I said are most important in Navamsha are fourth, comfort, and seventh, relationship. So how are those two houses? Who owns those two houses?
Fourth is Mercury and seventh.
From Pisces Lagna, fourth house of Gemini is owned by Mercury, seventh house of seventh house of Virgo is also owned by Mercury. Is he well placed? Is Mercury well placed?
No.
He is in
Eighth house.
eighth house. Is it good or bad?
Bad.
Bad. So what it means is overall the comfort and the stability of marriage. Eighth house is also the house of instability. So the marital happiness is somewhat unstable. It's not, the indications are not really good, unfortunately. So who is the god? If you believe in Hindu god, if the person believes in Hindu god and he wants to pray to a Hindu god for stability in marriage, which god? Who is the cause of problem here? Mercury is the cause of problem. So you need to propitiate Mercury. So you can pray to Mercury, or who is the god? Who is the deity for Mercury? Vishnu. So you can pray to Vishnu, Mahavishnu. You can, for example, on Wednesdays, if the person reads Vishnu Sahasranam, that will give happiness in marriage.
Even Sun Aditya also, right?
Pardon me?
If you person price even Sun,
Yeah.
give them results. Because he is in sixth house but debilitated.
Not debilitated. Own house.
He is a own house, but
Yeah, sixth house is another house. So once he gets married, if he is getting into quarrels, then if he prays to Sun or Shiva, then the quarrels, the tendency to have quarrels will be reduced.
because in the last class I hear that somebody had the same combination Ketu and Sun.
Uh-huh.
I hear that he should read Aditya Hrudayam.
Right. So basically it depends on what you want to solve. If he is quarreling and if you want to stop the quarrel, pray to Sun. But if you want him to get married,
Only suggested because of the health reasons, I think.
Oh yeah.
right. Their Sun was with Rahu, actually, not Ketu. Yeah. Right. Now, one more thing. The wife, the marriage itself, I said is shown by the seventh house. If the person gets married again, this is not a dictum anywhere found in classics, but this is what I was taught by my gurus and he was taught by his gurus. So this is basically something that came in tradition. It's not there in any classics, so I'm not sure if it is right, but it seems to work in practice. The principle is, take the eighth house from the seventh house. For the first marriage, it is the seventh house. For the second marriage, take the eighth from there.
Take 8 house from?
Eighth house from the seventh. So from here, so here Pisces is Lagna, seventh house is Virgo. From there, if you see the eighth house, you go 7, 8. It is Aries. So Aries is going to show the second marriage. And the break of second marriage is shown by second from Aries, Taurus. For the first marriage is shown by Virgo and break is shown by Libra. But for the second marriage, Aries is the marriage and Taurus is the break. So if you want to see when the person will get married and whether the second marriage will be happier or not, if you want to see all those things, you should look at and what kind of wife will he have in the second marriage. If you want to see all these things, you should look at Aries. So whatever Mercury shows is over. But remember one thing, the first marriage is the most important thing. So seventh house, that is the seed of all your marriages. So seventh lord is weak, then overall the marital happiness is bad. If the seventh lord and fourth lord are bad, overall marital happiness is bad. So still it is a good idea to pray to Vishnu. But the second marriage can be better if Mars is actually better. And here Mars is placed in 11th house, house of gains, and that is a good house for Mars to be in. And he is a functional benefit. So compared to Mercury, the 7th lord in 8th house, that is a Marka placement, that is not a good placement. Compared to Mercury, Mars is far better placed. So compared to the first marriage, second marriage will be better. But what can you say about the second wife? Will she be, first wife is more, because of there is strong Mercury influence, she can be analytical, good, knowledgeable, very inquisitive and very unstable. Mercury is also unstable. Mercury shows lot of change in mind, fickle minded. That is the nature of the first wife. But what do you say about the nature of the second wife? Aries. And Mars is exalted in a Kendra from Aries. So
Very aggressive.
very aggressive. Somebody who is very aggressive, somebody who is commanding, who is dynamic. So that's the kind of wife he will get later. And when can he get that wife? Perhaps in Mars Dasha.
2007.
Could be earlier, but if I don't want to use any complicated techniques, sophisticated techniques, if I just want to use Jyothishya Dasha, the likelihood is Mars. Mars Dasha is a good candidate because Mars is the Lord of Aries. And if you want to, I mean, God forbid, not in his case, but in another case, suppose somebody had third wife, second wife also divorced or died or something, and suppose somebody has a third wife, then you take the 8th therefrom. So in this case, for example, from Aries you would take 8th house, that would be Scorpio. So like that you keep taking the 8th house.
So Narasimha, for timing, why not UL again?
Pardon me? You can use UL. But UL is always, UL doesn't change. Only 7th house changes.
Now, if you look at Aries, Mercury is aspecting it. All the Mars is owner of the house, Mercury is aspecting in production.
Yeah.
So there will be some influence of Mercury also on that house.
Yes. Yes.
But Mercury also causes pain because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is fourth and seventh.
Right,
So
right.
even the second marriage won't be that happy.
It won't, yeah, overall it won't be that happy. But it's, second, not just second marriage, third marriage, fourth marriage, overall there is some instability in marriage. But second marriage will be much happier,
Better than the first.
yeah, than the first marriage.
The Samskar rulers will marry in Navamsha.
Yes, they will. But let's not go through them. Those are called Deva, Manushya and Rakshasa.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Basically that shows, because this is not just marriage, this is the dharma. What dharma you follow? Deva dharma, the dharma of the gods, or Rakshasa dharma, dharma of the demons, or the Manushya dharma, dharma of human beings. The dharma followed by gods is that of giving, daya, being compassionate and being kind. Kindness is the dharma of devas. And the dharma of Rakshasas is,
Destroy, kill, take.
yeah, dhamma, being arrogant and following their selfish ends. And Manushya is in between. So what kind of dharma somebody follows? If you want to see that, you can look at Navamsha. Somebody had a question. You? I'll take his question first.
For most of the charts, we are still referring to rulers from the first Amsa,
Yeah?
right?
That is the overall karma.
And under what circumstances we use same chart, Amsa rulers, same chart?
Oh, we do. For example, in one of the examples I said, in Aishwarya Rai's example, for example, I said Venus is the 10th Lord. So she is in entertainment. I said it in Tom Hanks' chart and Aishwarya Rai chart. I showed that Venus shows the career. In one case, he was the 6th Lord in 6th. 6th was dominating in Tom Hanks' case. So he is always working hard. In Aishwarya Rai's chart, in the chart of that actress, I said Venus is the 10th Lord. So I said in both the cases, Venus is in Indramsha.
Yeah.
So Indra is the god of power. So because he is in a Dashamsa ruled by Indra, so I said both of them are very influential. They are entertainers, but very influential entertainers. And similarly, if you see in somebody's Dashamsa, the 10th Lord, let's say, is in Kuberamsha, then the focus of his karma will be money, because Kubera is the Lord of money. And if somebody's case, if you see the 10th Lord in Ananta, spiritual pursuit will be the focus. In Ishana Samsha, religious things will be the pursuit. Similarly, I gave Varuna, business. So I gave several examples of Dashamsa and Siddhamsa in previous classes. If you look at the MP3s, if you listen to the MP3s, you will see some examples. So those are important. But the thing is, those are not. Parasha only gave the list. He did not say how exactly to use them. But in the case of Dashamsa, I gave the very specific use. So you can practice it in the case of Dashamsa. In the case of other charts, I only gave hints. I will teach more later. But Shashtamsa is the most important. It's not like they are the stronger of them dominates. Both of them will dominate. So for example, if the Dashamsa, for example, let's see this person's case. let's see Dashamsa, because that is what we are, oh again we don't know if it is accurate. What is his career?
Computer professional.
Pardon me, computer professional, hardware or software?
Software.
Enterprise software or embedded software?
Regular application.
For me regular is embedded, so I'm embedded. I'm a DSP engineer. Enterprise software, Oracle kind of thing.
Telecom.
Ah, telecom, okay. Okay, good. See, because software, if you are doing Oracle or Visual Power Builder, all these kind of things, SAP, all these things, that is one thing. The kind of analysis you do there is different. And if you are doing embedded programming, DSP programming, where you process small CPUs in an embedded environment and write drivers, etc., that is a totally different thing. So the influences will be different. So let us see if Dashamsa is accurate. Okay. Okay. So let us see what is the accuracy we have in this chart. When will Lagna change sign in D10? 0 seconds later, 13 minutes, 13 seconds earlier. What that means is the change that we affected in Navamsha also changed the Dashamsha. Probably it is a 15-degree point or something. The Lagna was probably just above 15 degrees, now it came to below 15 degrees. No, not 15. When do Navamsha and Dashamsha change together? When? Oh, we changed the sign itself. From Sagittarius Lagna, we took it to Scorpio Lagna. That is why, okay. Because Navamsha and Dashamsha don't have any common borders. If you look at Navamsha, 3 degree 20 minutes, 6 degree 40 minutes, 10 degrees, 13 degree 20 minutes, 16 degree 40 minutes, 20 degrees, 23 20, 26 40 and 30. These are the borders where Navamsha changes sign, right? And Dashamsha changes sign at 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So if you look at the two lists, there is no common value except 0 and 30. So I was wondering why when we changed Navamsha, Dashamsha also exactly changed at that time. I was wondering why. We basically rectified the Lagna itself. He was at the beginning of Dhanu Lagna and we changed him to Scorpio Lagna. Okay. Now in Dashamsha, so mostly this is accurate. Okay. So now, what is the kind of work that he does? Let's see from Lagna. If you look from Lagna, what is the 10th house? Lagna is Aries. From there the 10th house is Capricorn. Who owns it? Who are aspect? Who have influence on it? Saturn owns it. Who have Argala on it?
Nobody.
Pardon me? Nobody? No. Oops. Highlight Rasi is having Argala. Oops. How do I? Yeah. Okay. If you look at the Argalas on Capricorn, one by Mercury, one by and Jupiter and Ketu. And out of these, Mercury's Argala is important. Why? Because Mercury owns which houses?
He owns the third and
sixth houses. I told you earlier, remember, when you want to see somebody's career, don't look just at the 10th house. 10th house is the karma that you do. But 6th house is the obstacles that you overcome in the process of rendering that karma. So 2nd house is the resources that you employ. So 2, 6 and 10, all the three are very important houses. Those are the Artha Trikonas, the trines of purpose you serve. So you have to look at all the houses. If you find any links between them, then you can confidently say things. Even if the 10th house is, let's say 10th house is weak, and let's say 6th lord is in the 2nd house, then you make prediction based on the 6th lord, not the 10th lord. So here, 6th lord Mercury has association with the 2nd house as well as 10th house. If you look at Mercury, see, look at Saturn first. The 10th lord Saturn is in 3rd house, right? And 6th lord, so basically Saturn being the 10th lord shows in his karma he basically works hard and probably some kind of routine job too, routine work too. That is what you can say from Saturn. And now the 6th lord is Mercury. Where is he? He is in the 8th house of working hard, and then he has Argala on 10th house and he aspects the 2nd house. So Mercury has link with both the 6th house, 10th house and 2nd house. Because he has links with all the Artha Trikonas, Mercury can show the career of the person. Okay? So Mercury, what kind of career does Mercury show? Analytical kind of thing. Right. So that is what you can say from Mercury. And then more than Lagna, Arudha Lagna is important in seeing how people view somebody's job. Because whether somebody is a software engineer or hardware engineer, internally all he may be doing is, God, why am I doing this? He may be working hard. He may be struggling internally. So Lagna, the 10th house from Lagna shows what at the level of truth, at the level of internal existence, what one is doing. But how people perceive, when we see a software engineer or a hardware engineer or a real estate salesman, we have a clear difference in our view. Oh, he's a real estate salesman. He's a software engineer. He's an intelligent person. He does software engineering. Oh, he's a clever person. He just sells things to people. He just gets people cheated. These are the images that we have. So all these images are based on Arudha Lagna. So if you look from Arudha Lagna, where is the 10th house from Arudha Lagna? Rahu and Mars. They show, Rahu and Mars show aggressive, and also Rahu shows modern technology, I said in a previous class. So these are abstract things. Rahu shows abstract logic, and Mars and Rahu especially show hardware related things. So things relating to huge equipment, electronics. Mars is basically electronics and Rahu is electronics but huge equipment. So things relating to electronics, etc. And then Mercury has, again just like in the case of Lagna, Mercury has Argala on the 10th house and he is the 6th lord. He is the 6th lord from Arudha Lagna and he has Argala on the 10th house. So again the link we have is Mars and Rahu with Mercury's Argala. So Mars and Rahu will show some kind of electronics industry, some kind of electronics job, and Mercury will show some logic and Rahu shows abstract logic. So some kind of telecom engineering is possible. And now the thing is, if you look at the amshas of planets involved, Mars is in which amsha? Varuna amsha. So what did I say about Varuna? Varuna is basically persistence. He is the lord of western direction and he shows persisting, and also I said Varuna shows abroad. Right? Varuna is the western direction. So he shows crossing the sea, abroad, foreign sources, doing business with foreign sources or some foreign things. And also he shows persistence, persistently doing things. Basically Saturn is the Karaka for western direction and Varuna is the god for western direction. So there is Saturnine influence in Varuna. So because Mars is in Varuna amsha, what you will see is the dynamism. He will dynamically, Mars is the planet of dynamism. He will use dynamism in his career. He will seem to be not use. He will seem to be using dynamism in his career and persistently using it because in Varnamsa. But if you want to see what is the karma Mars carries, you look at Shashtamsa. What is the karma that Mars carries? Ardra. Ardra means tender. It is a good amsa. So he did some tender, some good, some auspicious karma in past lives, and the result of it he is going to experience in this life. And what about Rahu? Rahu is in Chandramukhi amsa. What about Mercury? He is in Sitala amsa. Sitala means cool. So all the amsas are good amsas. So all these planets who are associated with the career are representing good karma in career. Good karma that will be used in current career. So, oops, I meant to do here. And now if you look at Rahu, what did I say about Rahu? Rahu in the 10th house from Arudha. What kind of job does Rahu give? Rahu is abstract logic. Mercury is analysis and logic, math, analysis. But Rahu is abstract analysis, and also Rahu is pushing the boundaries. So I said all the modern technology is shown by Rahu. Technology is by Rahu, Mars. Instruments, machines and technology, engineering is from Mars. But modern technology, pushing the boundaries is by Rahu. Rahu does not like boundaries. He just pushes boundaries. So Rahu is also research and high tech. So here the job is a high tech job. And Rahu is in which amsha is he in? Brahma amsha. What did I say about Brahma and Achyuta? Brahma and Ananta? Creator, okay, but out of the 10 directions, 8 physical directions and downward direction and upward direction. I said Brahma shows downward direction. All these other Amsha Lords, Dashamsha Lords show 8 Lords show physical 8 directions, and Ananta shows upward direction of spiritual rise, and Brahma shows downward direction of digging. So I said Brahma shows research. He shows finding things not by spiritually rising, but by going down, digging, going deeper, dividing, further dividing. That is the approach of Brahma. It is a Rajasic approach. Ananda's approach is spiritual growth, is Sattvic approach. So Brahma, if a planet is in Brahma's Dashamsha, it shows lot of research, digging. So probably this person, because of Rahu's influence, this person probably digs into a lot of things, maybe looks at specifications, looks at protocols, definitions.
Yes, he was a researcher.
He was a researcher. Brahma does show research. So that is good.
But
Yes?
that's what people perceive of him.
Yes.
That's not what he may be actually doing.
Right. You are right. That is what people perceive him to be doing. But people don't perceive for no reason. The thing is, because, see, this is the thing. When I say Aruh Lagna is just an illusion, for God's sake, this whole world is illusion. So, illusion is the only reality. When you say internally he is happy or sad, who cares? All that the world sees that because you are projecting that to the world. World doesn't see something for no reason. World sees something because that is what you are projecting. As far as I am concerned, because he said he is a researcher, I will think of him as a researcher in a high-tech field. Because Rahu is in 10th from Arudha Lagna, in Brahma Samsaya, I will think, oh, he is a researcher, he is digging into things, he is doing high-tech, latest stuff. That is what I think. But as far as he is concerned, he may be sad, he may be sick of this whole thing. But that doesn't really, I won't say it doesn't matter, but that is just another aspect of it. The Maya is actually very important, because that is, people's impressions are based on some real stuff. Now, the final thing, the actual job, this is the kind of image we have of the work he does. The image we have is high-tech, digging, that is the image we have because of Brahma and Rahu. Now, the actual job, software engineer or hardware engineer, that job is not people's image. It's not even reality. It's a tangible thing. It's a truth as far as material world is concerned. It's a material truth. It's a tangible, manifested truth. So it is from 810. The 10th Arudha. Look at the 10th house Arudha Pada. That will be the actual job that the person will be doing. Of course, there may be various jobs, because 810 can have multiple influences. But the common theme will be the job where he works for most of the time is seen from 810. So where is 810? Can somebody find it for me? Who is in 810? First thing is, it is in Scorpio. Scorpio is a Martian sign, so technology. That too, Scorpio is the 8th sign of the natural zodiac. It is a hidden thing. So very secretive or hidden kind of technology. It could be defense, but not necessarily defense. It could be defense, but things relating to defense are really secretive doesn't necessarily mean defense. It can be really high-tech. Somebody is doing something and you don't want your competitors to find out about it. So some kind of secretive environment where he works, where his job is, it's a high-tech environment, and the planet there is Mercury. What does Mercury show? Analysis, software. So the actual job is a software engineer. And the image that people have of his work is Mars and Rahu as well as Mercury. And his actual, but from Lagna, Saturn is the 10th Lord. Even though there is Mercury's influence, Saturn being the 10th Lord makes me think that he works hard and he just finds it as a matter of discipline. He basically is very disciplined in his work, and he may or may not actually enjoy it completely. Had the 10th Lord been Mercury, he would have enjoyed it even more. So he may be doing it as a duty rather than as an enjoyment. So that is what you see from Lagna. So like this, 810, 10 from Arudha and 10 from Lagna have a unique specific purpose. So understand the difference and use them accordingly. And then you can use dasas to see when he will go into a particular job or another kind of job. You can use dasas. But basically, looking at so far Navamsa and Dasamsa, it looks like this chart is reasonably accurate. Now, from the 14-minute period, we have rectified the window of accuracy to something like 10 minutes, because Dasamsa Lagna changes in 10 minutes. So we have this 10-minute window. If we know when he studied, what he studied, when he graduated, we can look at D24 and rectify to a 4-minute period. So like this, you can keep rectifying, and we'll see some more examples of rectifying further later. But I think Navamsa and Dasamsa are accurate now for this person. So for those who are listening to the CD and want the time, the rectified time is 4.45, but that could be wrong. Basically, you can say 8:12. So with that, I will end for today. We will meet next Sunday at the same time, in the same place. Let's conclude. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.